The Nation of Islam has been in the UK since 1985, and in that time they have contributed positively to the black community. Teaching self-discipline and self-reliance, the Nation of Islam has worked with other organisations to help improve the condition of black people in the UK. On Thursday, the 27th of July, armed police officers raided the Nation of Islam headquarters, claiming that they had reason to believe that the mosque was in fact a cannabis factory. Outraged, supporters from across London attended a Brixton press conference to find out what happened. I went down there with the media team to hear the opinions on the ground. Could you talk me through your initial reaction when you found out what happened or what had taken place?
Well, I was sitting in a meeting and then got a phone call, and I was a bit concerned when I heard the message, because I'm familiar with the brothers and sisters. So as a result, I decided, well, something had to be done sooner rather than later. But of course, not unfamiliar with these issues over the last 30 years dealing with them, I thought the best thing I can do, let's get involved quickly as possible and to see what we could do. And I have to give some commendation to some of my colleagues who have responded very quickly to address and try to alleviate some of the anxieties.
Okay, well, I actually drove past the building. I actually called my dad as well, but he already knew. So yeah, I was just shocked because nothing like that's ever happened before, so it was just shock.
Okay. And what do you think about that whole scenario? What do you think about it?
Basically, I think the police will continue to always do what they do, and I think it's for us individuals to form a community where we can look after ourselves, so we can withstand these, because that is the role of the police. That is what they do, and I can imagine in another 10 years there'll be some other community that's raided as well. So for us as a people, the onus, I think, is for us to be able to be in a position to protect ourselves.
Okay.
They also know that the Nation of Islam stands against drugs. They know that the Nation of Islam has done a great deal, not only in this country, but in the United States of America and other parts of the world, to stamp out drugs in the African community. So the idea that they raided the Mosque of the Nation of Islam in search for drugs, I believe, was the pretext. And then I'm hearing that they are claiming that it was a mistake. Yeah? We don't accept that at all.
At the moment, what do you think of the relationship between the black community and the police officers at the moment?
And the black community and the
police force at the moment?
Yes, I mean, in some ways things have improved. Things are going in the right direction, but for us it's not quick enough. I think there's a lot more that can be done. I still think that the police are some way away from particularly the black community, and the police service has got to try harder.
And where do you see the relationship between the black community and the police going from here?
I think it will be the same. I think it will be the same. I think there will be animosity, and it will always be the same, because, as I said, the police are not called the police force for nothing.
Okay, and where do you see the relationship between the black community and the police? Where do you see that going from here on?
I think that both the community and the police are responsible for that relationship. It's important for us to make sure that when it comes to what we want from the police, what our expectations are from the police, it's important that that is clear. It's equally important for the police to do their job, because, on this occasion, maybe we're not happy with the way in which the police have used their authorities. But on other occasions, it might be that we actually need to call upon the police to do something for us. So it's a relationship.
But in terms of the relationship between the police and the black community, how do you see that changing? Does you feel that's changed as a result of this?
No. Because I think that obviously the police still have laws in place. They still have the stop and search laws that are in place, and they're still going to abuse those laws no matter what. Even if it is just pulling up someone in their car onto the side and asking to search their car for no reason, they're still going to abuse their authority, and I don't think it's going to change the relationship between black people and the police at all.
So the onus in terms of whether there is potential for any improvement or any change in that relationship, the onus is on the police force itself and on the British government. If they want to change the nature of the relationship between the African community and its authority, then it must turn away from its acts of oppression, exploitation and degradation against African people.
I think if we want change, we have to go and get it ourselves, because no matter how much we rally and how much we march, they're not going to give us what we want, and that's freedom, justice and equality. We have to go and get it ourselves, which means we have to do for self, like the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan says.
In your opinion, where do you see the relationship between the police officers or the police force and the young black community going?
The police force in general could be very biased towards the black community. We know that statistics tell us that, but it's also about everyone showing interest. The more you show interest in your own, the things that you own, is the more likely it is that the police will show you, or those in power will show you more respect. So if you want respect, you need to respect ourselves. So first, it starts from within the community. We can't still demand that the police give us respect if we don't first prove ourselves respect. So it needs to start from within. We need to build up our own resources. We need to show that we can be together and as a community before we even think about approaching those in power.
Yeah, why do you feel it's important for all of us to be here?
I think basically, as an African, as a black woman, it's my job to support my community, and that's why I'm here. It's not like I'm having to pay money to be, that my physical presence to support this, I think, is important.
How do you feel that the press conference went all together? How do you feel it went?
Oh, once again, I take my hat off to the Nation of Islam and Minister Hillary and his people. Dignified as ever, really showing the black community how it's done, and you know, and all due respect to them. And I think it went very well. You know, I was here from the beginning and watched the love amongst the people. I noticed the different black groups who were here supporting, and that's what we need to do. We really need to unite as a people. We're far too fragmented, and as I said, I think it went very well.
Okay, why do you think it's important for so many people to be here? Why is it important for you to be here?
Well, just like to show the effect it has, and like how we're still united. So even though we might not be there all the time, but like this is basically like a chance for us to show how we're still united.
Okay, and just finally, how do you feel that the actual conference went altogether?
I thought it went well, and I think it was Brother Hillary talking about connecting all of this to the transatlantic slave trade. What we have achieved and what black people brought into this country to do, and how we've continually been disrespected from the moment we set foot on this island in 1940. I mean, there was a black presence here long beforehand, but the main presence came to build up this country after the Second World War, and for the moment we stepped on these shores, we have continually been disrespected. So I think it was really good that he connected that. He brought all that together, so it gives you a context.
So we are not here to overemphasize the point, because an apology is made and we accept the apology. However, we want the police to know, and we want them to publish to us, which they said that they will, the actions that will be taken for the sergeant who led a team of police into a building that he had no right being in. None at all. This is a breach of his chain of command. Yes, and anybody who breaches a chain of command must be severely reprimanded. So we look forward for accountability now for those who break their own law that they are sworn to uphold. We don't have an axe to grind against the police. We thank them for what they do in sincerity. But that rogue nation, that rogue element that has infiltrated the police, we want them to be apprehended, and we want them to be given their marching orders. And we want those kind of disciplinary acts to be published so that the black community will know that the best and the finest that Brixton have are walking our streets and will handle our people with care.